you come to South London and let's do your cause. Actually, tell a lie, I lived in South London for a year. I lived in South London for a few years. You know, I was born in North, but then my wife made me migrate across the pond. But this is the Clapham Grand. It's actually a very, very big venue. I've never spoken here before, you know what I mean? More than likely, I'm about to go on tour, and I think before you ever do anything, you have to watch others who are good at it, better than you, or do it at a high level. So that's why it was very important for me to come to this event and just start taking notes and see what things that I can do better as a speaker, and also what things that like are working and what are not working. It's funny because I was watching Kevin Hart talk about his stand-up, and it was interesting how he was like, every year he warms up, he does comedy clubs every night until he has his full set. And once his set is ready to go, then he starts hitting the arenas. And I feel like a lot of us have lost that baby step mentality. We're always like, especially me, if I'm at this level, I'm gonna stay at this level and not gonna go back to the bottom and start working on it again. I think he said like, don't stop doing what works, you know? And for me, what works is being on stage, seeing people communicate and learning from them, and then, you know, incorporating my message in how I can, but also mixing with the people. You know, I was at Wireless yesterday, and it's like mixing with the people and seeing what the current conversation of the zeitgeist is, but also what people relate to. You know, I think that's such an important part of any contribution that you give to the world, or any piece of art you make, or any kind of service you're trying to provide. It's so important to do that. A lot of people know me from my spoken word, but they also don't know that I write a newsletter and I share stuff about marriage, marriage, relationships. And you know, I felt like this was the perfect platform to come and like share some stuff. It's funny because in this area of my career, I break this taboo where when I do spoken word, I never have paper, and I'm always pride myself on memorizing it. And you know, but with this one, it's like these are extracts. You know, these are not rhymes. These is like literature. You know, so when it comes to the literature, you have to be literate. I got my dad in the cut. You know, he's just here from Ghana. He's the what's it called? Troubadour. Yeah. The troubadour. He comes from. He's sometimes in the country, sometimes he's not. He's in and out, whenever. But when he is, he always comes and shows a big support. A lot of this is kind of like gearing up to start performing a lot more again. You know, I spent a lot of my time learning how to working more on like writing stuff. You know, obviously I was still writing the spoken word and stuff, but this one was more like I want to expand the stuff I was talking about, and you know, so but I've got to get back on the stage. Really, the stage is where I feel most at home, and I feel like I get to express myself properly outside of social media, etc., etc. It's from being in an extended relationship to marriage, kind of like the insights I've gained of what makes the marriage. You ready, though? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are we feeling? Okay. Now that is the energy, the standard that we are trying to emit tonight. You are in for a treat tonight. Like I said, the aim of tonight is for every single person in the building right now to walk out feeling like the best version of themselves. Is that your name? I hope that's your name. Is that your name? Please, a massive round of applause for Suli Breaks.
Hello, how's everyone doing? So my name is Suli, and typically when I come onto stage and I talk, I usually like try to reel off my credentials for the context, but in this context, I guess in this situation, I guess I don't need many credentials other than the fact that I've been married for 8 years. That's nice, I appreciate that. Pardon? I was about to say that happily. I've been happily married for 8 years. I've been in a relationship for 16 years. So we started the relationship, there's no clap, but I took 8 years. So, I know. But we was very young when we got together, you know what I mean? It's like, to be honest, I only know 2 couples that are like in their 30s that have been together longer than us, so I'm trying. And I share a lot of my insights about what I've learned when it comes to sustaining not just love, but a relationship between someone who's essentially a stranger, but then becomes your partner and becomes, you know, a key part of the journey that you're taking. And I write a newsletter called For Better or For Worse newsletter, and I try to share it from a male perspective, because I feel sometimes the man then don't get to tell their side of the story. We're not perfect, I know we're not, you know what I mean, but we do have a side to the story. One of the pieces that I wrote that inspired me to start the newsletter, it's called The Reality of Marriage, and it's funny because I wrote this because in my day-to-day, I write spoken word, I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller. I tell stories creatively and I teach companies, big Fortune 500 companies, how to tell stories. And my wife has always said to me, you should write something about marriage. And I was like, no one wants to hear that. And then once we had this argument, and as a way to kind of atone for the argument, I said to her, oh look, I wrote something about marriage. And she was like, let me read it. She's like, this is rubbish. And I said, she told me where to change it. And I wrote it again and I put it online and it kind of resonated with a lot of people. It's called The Reality of Marriage. Is it okay if I share it with you guys? Thank you guys very much. I'm going to steal this chair just for a second. Let me teach you something about marriage. Once during a massive argument over the laundry, my wife took the overpriced diamond engagement ring I bought her and threw it in my face like it was a cheap piece of jewelry. Are you mad? Do you know how that much cost me? Shut up, Solomon. Our voices raised and the argument escalated further. Don't chat to me. I'm leaving. I don't care. I'm not coming back. I said, I don't care. Several hours and an untold number of missed calls later, she came back. This was not the first time we fought before the wedding. It wasn't the last. But those are the moments we edit out of the anniversary posts and the wedding speech. Those are the parts you don't see liked on Instagram. That is the hashtag that people Snapchat and say relationship goals. That's the director's cut that never makes the world premiere. That is marriage. In marriage, the bitter doesn't shy away from the sweet. Having been in a relationship for 16 years, I can tell you that marriage is brutally honest. If you're not ready to be exposed, stay away from marriage. The singular act of saying I do is easy. Getting married is easy. That part is fun, it's filled with photographs, food, and celebration. But people my age assume they're ready for marriage because they're ready to get married. They might be ready for the bridal shower, the bachelor party, the wedding, the honeymoon. They might be ready to stand in front of the pastor and declare their undying love. They might have bookmarked their first home, decorated their vision board with holiday destinations, and collected brochures for where their kids might attend school. They might even be naive enough to think they're ready for kids. I have 2 kids, trust me, nobody's ready for kids. I blame Disney, I blame Titanic, I blame Celine Dion. Sure, your heart will go on, but what about your marriage? I blame reminders that you're getting old. I blame friends who edit their entire relationship and show you the filtered version. I blame people who only give you a sample of the product. Don't get it twisted, I'm not doubting your love. But if you're serious about marriage, I don't want to hear about love. Love is an icing on a giant cake, and sometimes it spreads too thin. People think love is an emotion, when really, it's a commitment. So tell me about commitment. Asking your partner for help while choking on pride and humiliation. Breaking down every single atom of your existence in your partner's arm. Can you handle that vulnerability? Are you strong enough to come back together? Then tell me about discussing the past. That means every scar from the one under your chin to the one slashed across your heart. See, the hardest thing about commitment in marriage is it doesn't end. There's no break. Marriage exists with the depths, the dismissals, the miscarriages, the diagnoses, the funerals, and the fights. The question is no longer can I handle this, it's can we handle this? Because in marriage, everything is us. Till death do us part. Marriage is plunging into the deep end of the public swimming pool, holding onto your partner's hand while neither of you have learned how to swim. Look at couples that have arched their backs for 20 to 30 years for their partners. Don't look at newlyweds on social media for marriage goals. Don't look at tweets. Marriage is not a race, it's a marathon. If you wish for anything, one day you can still make your partner laugh at 60 the same way they did at 21. If you ask me, that is marriage. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. This is my dad's first time trying Nando's. It's a treat from me.
That's good, man. It looks good. It looks good. I know chicken ain't good these days.
Bro, he said chicken's